Alright, remember Bridge? Bridge was on the top of Photoshop. At the very top, when you open it up, there's this little icon that says Bridge. Okay? And there's Mini Bridge too. But Bridge allows you to browse your computer, and let's say I went over to my desktop and I went over to a thing, my curriculum, and then Photoshop, and then lesson files, and I look at these JPEG images here. Okay? You can see that the NEF now has some changes on it. And if I zoom in on the icon, you can definitely see this. So this little dot right here signifies that there's been a change on the file. Now that change stays there. It lives with the file now because it's a NEF file. And you can go back to default if you wanted to on those. But this JPEG image, what we can do is open it in that same processor that I showed you in the last video. So if you click on it, you can open in Camera Raw. Now, based upon the last video, I was able to, get this pretty good. I could take this exposure ratio and rank it down. But you notice this photo, if I go too far, all these are still red, okay? What I want to definitely show you in this video is that you can use Camera Raw on JPEG images. But let me go back to this one, for example, and open in Camera Raw. And I'm just going to kind of default this back. So you can see, I guess it is defaulted back. All right, so here, when I rank up the exposure to repair this, notice all the red goes away. It's now repaired, except for a couple spots. But if I did that on this one, I can rank it up as far as I can, and those spots stay there. So, why this is because the Camera Raw is at a different bit ratio. Remember when I'm talking about 16-bit, 32-bit, and everything else? Well, the standard Camera Raw is a 16-bit. Now, I might say below 8-bit on this thing right here, but this JPEG is 8-bit. If I go back to the other one, it's still going to say 8-bit, but trust me in the fact that it is actually 16-bit, and that's why there's so much stuff that could live in the file after the fact, because it has a lot of pixels there that you just don't see. It has a lot of depth of bits, so you can repair it after the fact. So keep in mind, there are times when I see a photo that's a JPEG, it's come from the client and it sucks, and I'm like, wow, how am I going to repair this? Well, first let me take it into Camera Raw and see what I can do there, and then I might go after the fact. Now this is a CR2, which is the same equivalent of a raw image. This one's shot incredibly dark for the purpose of this, and what I'm going to do is try to repair this. Okay. Now this is a different type of camera. This is a Canon Mark 5D, which is a pretty nice camera. And you can see now I have just a hint of blue up at the top. Now the bad thing about a Canon Mark 5D is the fact that it is a total grainy camera, because it's new to the scene as far as shooting at a high megapixel ratio. So its equivalency for ISO 800 leaves an incredible amount of film grain into it. Okay. Now, as I said, at higher ratios of pictures, the height and width, when you get into film grain, it's not a bad thing though. It's just ugly to look at in its digital format. So that's the difference between the Nikon and the Canon. Canon has a higher film grain to it. You can certainly slow down the ISO quite a bit and get rid of that, but in the long run, it still kind of shows up. Okay. Alright, now that I showed you that you could tweak a JPEG with the same outfit, let's go on to the next video where I show you some more.